This is the Louie T Network.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the lockdown coverage, week number 8 in the National Football League. Carolina Panthers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, NFC South family business. You know how the family do it. And this family business went according to plan. Right on schedule. Buccaneers have been struggling. Offensively, defensively, even though you could argue last week against Buffalo, they had one heck of a half of football offensively, but the defensive struggles continue with this Buccaneers team last week. And they came into this game just struggling overall as a football team. And the Panthers, defensively, they've been solid enough to have won their last 2 games. But the offense has been just downright awful, including last week against Chicago on the road, where they turned it over twice, which resulted in touchdowns for the Bears, and only were able to muster 3 points. So something had to give in this game. And I had a feeling, because the Panthers, they just owned the Buccaneers. And I said at the beginning of the season, before the season actually started, that this Buccaneers team was going to take a step back. They were going to struggle this year. A lot of Buccaneers fans were upset. They were up in arms. How could we take a step back? We won 9 games last year. Because you're not ready to take that next step. And Jameis Winston is banged up. And they said he re-aggravated the injury last week, which we didn't know about. And I didn't find out about until literally on Friday or Saturday or so. And you could tell that he wasn't 100% healthy in this game. A lot of his balls early in this game were wobblers. I mean, they were barely getting to their target. So he struggled in this game. Luke Kuechly back for the Panthers meant that was going to be trouble for the Buccaneers offensively. And he made his presence felt, an interception all over the football field as only Luke Kuechly can. And I thought he was outstanding. And the Bucs simply aren't in sync offensively right now. And the defense, while I thought they had moments in this game, just simply weren't good enough to get it done. And when your offense only scores 3 points, your defense is going to have to pick up the slack. And they weren't able to do that in this game. And the Panthers, it was not pretty by any stretch of the imagination. Does this fix the Panthers? No. But is this a win against a team in the division that gets you to 5-3 and keeps you on pace to have a chance to win this division? Absolutely. You'll take it any way you can get it, and you'll keep it moving. And that's what the Panthers did here. They did exactly what the Bears did to them last week, 17-3 against this Buccaneers team. And so we'll talk about this quickly from both sides of the coin. And we'll start with this Panthers team in this football game and what they were able to accomplish. We'll start with the offense. And they still haven't, the Christian McCaffrey, Curtis Samuel package looks exactly the same as it did in week 1. I still haven't seen any diversity. I see them getting the same, the football in the same manner. Nothing changes. There's no creativity. There's no extra wrinkle. I'm not asking for you to change the entire playbook, but I am asking for you to change how you go about getting these dynamic players the football out in space. And with Samuel, we've seen it. It's either a pitch out of the backfield, out of some kind of option look, or it's a jet sweep, or it's a reverse. That's the only way they can get this young man the ball, which is a farce. And with McCaffrey, it's the screen game, or it's a check down underneath. I've already said this. He can run routes, you know. You can split him out. He can take advantage of a linebacker or a safety. He can win. You do know this, right? He does have receiver hands. You are aware of this, correct? I'm just making sure we're on the same page because it's all the same for me. And Mike Shula is struggling. And I told you, don't draft these guys unless you have a plan. And I said, unless Mike Shula has a plan, don't draft Christian McCaffrey. Don't draft Curtis Samuel. And right now, I'm telling you, Mike Shula doesn't have a plan for these 2 guys. And this team is struggling because of it. Because when you look at Noah Olsen, what Greg O does is he provides Cam with the safety blanket and a net. When nothing's there, I know Greg's there. And on 3rd and 7, I know I can throw it to Greg and he'll get me 9 and we'll move the sticks. And when we get in the red zone and I need it, I know I can force it to Greg in double coverage and he'll still find a way to come down with it. Well, he's not in the lineup. So now you have to offset that missing piece, a huge missing piece to this offense. And that was supposed to be McCaffrey and Samuel, they haven't done it. And I don't think they're capable of doing it because I don't think Mike Shula is creative enough. And so your end result is a team that is struggling to run it. And I thought they were okay running the football in this game. They weren't terrible, but still not the standard which we hold the Panthers to rushing the football. I actually think they need to give Cap some more touches. Cameron Artis-Payne, I thought he actually looked good. And I think he needs to touch it a little bit more, especially in the run game. But that's nor here nor there. The bottom line is this offense continues to struggle. And if not for a Bucs offense and defense that isn't on the same page, that's a little anemic right now, you probably lose again. But kudos to you for having a standout defensive performance, which leads me to the defensive side of the football. And before I go there, Newton was solid. He wasn't great. He wasn't spectacular. He did enough to keep this team in a position to put this game. They were always within range to put this game away. Always seemed like they were right there on the cusp. And that throw, which was a gorgeous throw to KB in the end zone, jump ball, that's why you draft these 6'5", 6'6" receivers right there. For those types of opportunities, one-on-one with a safety who doesn't realize you can't get behind a 6'6" target and expect to compete. And that's a beautiful throw by Cam to give him a chance to go climb the ladder and really put the game out of reach at 17-3. That's gorgeous right there, and that's exactly what you would like to see from Cam Newton in a situation just like that. You go to the defense, though. They were the story of the game for the Carolina Panthers. They absolutely shut this Buccaneers offense down. They got after Winston. They hit him. They forced a fumble of Winston. They picked him off a couple of times. They were the difference in this game because the offense was good. It was not great. The special teams was okay, even though they did have a nice return on special teams, did the Panthers. The special teams was okay. It wasn't great. The defense was the difference in this game, led by Luke Kuechly. He continues to be one of the best inside linebackers. When he plays, it's a different Panthers defense. It's a different mentality. They're looking to force turnovers. They're getting after the quarterback this year, and they can do it from all four positions. I didn't think J-Pep would come in and have as big an impact as he has had. I was wrong. He still got gas in the tank, and he is getting to the quarterback, which is helping the interior rush. There was a beautiful spin by Love on the interior offensive line. I think it was Ali Marpet that he was able to spin on. My goodness, when you get big men spinning like that and getting to the quarterback, it's not much you can do. And the Panthers right now defensively, like I said last week and the week before, I said this defense really hasn't done much wrong. Even against Philadelphia, where I thought the defense could have played better, I still put that loss on the offense, the offensive line. And yeah, there were opportunities to get stops versus the Eagles, but I thought defensively they've given their team a chance to win in just about every game this season, with the exception of a couple. And the offense picked up the slack in those games. So this was another game where the defense dominated. Just like the Buffalo game, where you had to have a dominant defensive performance, I felt like you got that here in this game, and you needed it because for much of this game, it was 10-3. And so you needed a dominant performance. There were times where the Bucs looked like they were going to threaten in the second half, and this defense came up with huge plays, sacks, and things of that nature to push the Bucs out of field goal range. And I thought the special teams unit of the Panthers was outstanding too. Michael Pilardi pinning them deep in Buccaneers territory a couple of times, forcing them, and they were struggling. And you knew if they could not drive the length of the field, and a couple of beautiful punts down inside the 5, I thought this was a team win for the Panthers. Offense did just enough. Defense was outstanding. Special teams complemented the defense well in setting up the defense to be able to shut down this Buccaneers offensive attack. You go to the Buccaneers in this game. Like all season long, you could argue 2 out of the 5 losses were missed opportunities, mistakes. 3 out of the 4 or 5 losses, mistakes. You could go ahead and chalk this up to a lot of the same for the Buccaneers. Winston's got a wide open Deshaun Jackson, severely underthrows him. I put that no call of pass interference, which I didn't think it was pass interference, by Worley. I thought he was able to kind of hold off getting to Jackson until the ball pretty much got there. Maybe got there a little tad bit early, but I thought it was a good no call. Winston missed him, threw it off balance, and wasn't able to get it to Jackson. But the ball is in Jackson's court there to leap back into Worley to create, because he didn't look back for the ball. It's Jackson's job to create the contact there that would have gotten the flag. He didn't do it, and so you get away with one there if you're Carolina. But nonetheless, you've got Jackson open down the sideline. You've got Evans down the sideline wide open, and he missed them. He missed guys in this game. He's not right. And I told you, I didn't like the way he looked throwing the football. Who was right in this game was Doug Martin. Doug E. Frosh. He was good in this game. I thought he ran the football very effectively, gave them opportunities to try to score the football. And this offensive line, I thought they struggled mightily in this game. Winston was under siege. And I talked about, I talked to my man Reed all the time about Winston and his inability to protect the football, make smart decisions. And that's the thing that's holding him back. And he always tries to, tie him into Favre and how he's Favre-esque in his play and thought process. And I agree with that. And I said, that's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's a gift and a curse. And you saw it on that fumble where there's nothing there to be had from that play. Eat the football. Do not try and make something out of nothing when there's nothing there to be made. He tries to throw it. It gets knocked out of his hand. It's a fumble. And the Panthers are able to recover. Winston accounted for 3 turnovers in this football game. You can't turn it over that many times and expect a win in this league. And so this offense just not clicking right now. They're out of sync. Deshaun Jackson and Winston have not gotten on the same page yet. We didn't see much from O.J. Howard after what we thought was a breakout game a week ago against Buffalo. He went back to basically being quiet. Mike Evans was held to next to nothing in this game. It was a struggle to get him the football. And the Panthers knew that was going to be the primary target. They were all over him. And they just struggled in this game overall. They just struggled offensively. It didn't look clean or crisp. And they talked about practice looking a little rough and with a lot of balls hitting the ground because of Winston's injury. And you could tell he just was not right in this game. And you could tell he isn't where he needs to be from a physical standpoint. And this offense isn't where it needs to be overall from a continuity standpoint. They're just not where they need to be to make the necessary plays to will this team to a victory from the offensive side of the football. Defensively, I look at this game from a number of different spectrums, but the overall overriding theme for the Buccaneers defensively is that you did enough to win in this game. All right, your offense let you down with 3 turnovers. Special teams was okay. I mean, you pinned the Buccaneers, the Panthers deep in their own territory on a possession, and you got a solid return. But penalties were a problem. Defensively, I thought that you kept them out of the end zone for much of this game. It was 10-3 for a vast majority of this game. You turned Newton over once by deflecting the football and picking it off. And so you had – I thought you did enough. This wasn't a defensive issue here. There's only so much you can do as a defense. It would be nice to create a turnover and take it the distance yourself. But, I mean, bottom line is – in this game, in which you only give up 17 points, you'd like to think that your offense should be good enough to get you 18 and win the football game. And they had opportunities, and as I've said all season long, they've squandered opportunities, and that's no bearing on this defense, who I thought went out and competed. Thought they did a good job of shutting down an offense that has struggled this season. Panthers have struggled offensively, sans for 2 games. In back-to-back weeks versus Detroit and New England, they struggled offensively. So don't let them come into your building and get right offensively. And for the most part, you didn't. It was a modest game by Cam Newton. It was a modest game on the ground. You didn't let anyone explode on you. But your offense didn't get it done. They put you in some tough spots. And except for one drive where you allowed the Panthers to go, 17 plays? And I don't even know. I think that drive resulted in a field goal. It might have resulted in a touchdown. But in any event, outside of that one drive, I don't even put that final drive where they were able to get in the end zone on you. I don't even put that one on you. It's tough when you're getting no help whatsoever from your offense. It's tough. And that's really what the position the Bucs have been put in right now, is that they got to do it defensively or they're not going to win. Last week, the offense was good for the majority of the game, but they made mistakes in that game that cost you. Could the defense have been better? Sure. But, it's a team effort. And right now, it seems like they can never get all parties on board at the same time, whether the defense steps up like they did in the New England game, but the offense doesn't and the special teams doesn't. Or in this particular game where you get a great contribution from your defense and even a little something from your special teams, you get nothing from your offense. You go to last week, the offense, they contributed. They gave you a little something, but the defense really didn't, and special teams kind of let you down a little bit too. So, you know, it's one of those situations where this Bucs team just can't catch a break with all facets of the game coming together and helping them win. And this is another disappointing loss for a Buccaneers team that just is in a funk right now and can't find their way out as they drop this game 17-3 to the Carolina Panthers. And my man Reed was saying, well, you know, the good thing is at 2-4, we've got a ton of divisional games. We haven't played one yet in the division, and we've got a chance to get back into this thing. And I said, well, it starts next week against Carolina at home. If you're looking to get back into this thing, you need to win that game. And it's not in the cards for the Buccaneers this year. It doesn't look like right now. And so we'll see what happens. But nonetheless, Panthers get it done, 17-3, go to 5-3 on the season. And a big win for them because they had dropped their first one in the division to New Orleans. They needed to bounce back here, get back to 1-1 in the division. And then you got a huge one at home next week versus Atlanta. That's one you need to get. Falcons are still struggling despite the win. So that's a big one in the NFC South next week. Meanwhile, for the Bucs, it's tough because you don't get a bye week at all. You know, your bye came in week 1 because of the hurricane, and your situation, you could use a week to just kind of decompress and figure out what's wrong, but you're not going to be afforded that opportunity. And there's a lot wrong with this team right now. They're struggling, and there are not a lot of answers coming out of Tampa Bay right now. There's not a ton of answers for this football team as they continue to struggle. And at 2-5, I think you've got New Orleans next week, if I'm not mistaken. At New Orleans, you're in some serious trouble as the Saints are now winners of 5 straight. That's going to be a tough environment to go in and win when you're struggling yourself to score points. And they're playing better and they're gaining more confidence defensively. It's going to be a tough ask of you to go on the road in the division and find a way to win. We'll see what happens. But we'll answer a couple of comments if there are some out there before we move on. Eagle Speed says, is Jameis Winston the most overrated quarterback in football? No, he's banged up right now. I mean, there's a legit excuse right now as to why he's struggling. He's banged up right now. Mr. T Money 1993 says, J-Pep is truly a legend. 7.5 sacks at this point. His age is crazy, man. I never saw this coming from him. I thought he was done and washed up when he left Green Bay. And I thought this was just a victory lap for him, a final lap around the track as he comes home and says, hey, I want to retire, Carolina Panther. And he's getting after it. And if I'm not mistaken, he was the one that forced the fumble of Jameis Winston as he tried to throw the football in this game. His play this year has just blown my mind. I think he had a game in which he had like 3 or 4 sacks. I mean, this guy is ridiculous right now. Kate Francis says, how far can the Panthers go if we make the playoffs? Got to get there first. You can't start using the P word until you can get some kind of offensive rhythm and flow right now, which you don't have. You need to try to make it out of your division first. This division is wide open. Win the division because this may be a 1-bid division when it's all said and done. We'll see. Right now, it looks like you're going to get 2 teams in, but it's a long way to go. But you got 2 teams with 5 wins and 1 team with 4 wins right now. So this division is looking strong, but anything can happen. So I don't want to talk division and I don't want to talk playoffs and how far you can go until you can find a way to get this offense on track. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you get to the playoffs, let's just hypothetically speak right now. You make it to the playoffs, but your offense looks like this, you're going nowhere but home. Fast. So your defense is legit, but that can only take you so far once you get to the postseason because, again, everybody is good once you get to the postseason. And so if your offense can't produce more than it has over the last couple of weeks, you're going to be in trouble once you get to the postseason. But that's a long way away. We'll see what happens with this football team. But big one next week. Speaking of which, playoffs and how far can you go? Big one in terms of this division. And this is going to go a long way in determining how good the Panthers are going to be this year. Already dropped 1 in the division at home. Can't afford to do it again, this time to the Falcons, a team that is right behind you in the standings. Can't afford to drop this one at home if you are the Carolina Panthers. T-Money says, I think this division gets 2 or 3 teams in. I don't know about 3. 2, I could see that. 2 for sure. I could definitely see that. 3, you're pushing it. You're pushing it because I still think out of Atlanta and New Orleans, I think this Panthers team, because they play defense, they're going to be around. But I think between New Orleans and Atlanta, one of those two teams, I think they're going to fall off before it's all said and done. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But New Orleans 5 straight. Atlanta found a way to get a win, a gritty win on the road. We'll see what happens with this division as it continues to progress throughout the season. But that's going to do it for your man Louie T here on Lockdown Coverage. Panthers get it done 17-3 on the road versus the Bucs. Going to 5-3, snapping a 2-game skid for this Panthers team, desperately needing this win. They get it on the road and get to 5-3 with a 17-3 win over the Bucs, who dropped to 2-5 on the season, and their season is spiraling out of control. There are a lot of questions as to whether Mike Smith is going to be able to retain his job. He's been on the hot seat. This was a good day for him and his defense, but still overall a bad day for this Buccaneers football team as they struggle to score points. Only 3 on the day as they lose and drop to 2-5 and drop their 4th straight in Tampa Bay. It's going to do it for your man Louie T here on Lockdown Coverage. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie T Network. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. More Lockdown coverage to come. Also, R3 at the conclusion of the Redskins-Cowboys game. So come back here and join me for that. Of course, Sunday Night Football overtime. Lions and Steelers. Should be a good one. I'll see you for all of that and more as this day continues. Enjoy the rest of the football in the 4 o'clock hour. I'll see you after those games meet their conclusion. Have a good one.